We have one other very special task which we want to perform tonight. And to perform that task, I'm going to ask our State Chairman, Paul Mitchell, to come forward and hand it over him to do this special task.
Yeah.
I'm happy to become chairman.
Yes.
You're supposed to be the best speaker in the world. But tonight it gives me great pleasure to recognise Barney Gehrig and his family for all the good work they've done in keeping alive Barney's picnic and all the other things they've done during his membership, which goes right back to his father. And before I call him up here, I'll just read you out what the certificate says. It says, the Knights of the Southern Cross of Victoria State Council presents a certificate of appreciation to Barney Gehrig and family in recognition of hosting Barney's picnic on the Gehrig property for over 60 years. And we thank you for your continual support. So, Barney, would you like to come up and receive your certificate of appreciation? And while he's making his way up here, we know that he hasn't been well, and it's been a big effort for him to come out tonight, so congratulations, Bernard. This certificate there is for you and the family, and it goes with all our love and good wishes for all the good work you and the family have done. There's a cost involved in receiving this. I've got to ask you, how did you get involved in the Knights in the first place? Do you remember, what's your first memory of the Knights?
I can't really say. I was involved with this picnic long before I became a member.
I thought that might have been the case.
And so I don't know how many years, but I've been a member since 1968, and it was a few years before that I was carting gear up and down the track, had a few wet days and bogs and things. So it's a long time, and it's something your father said to do in those days, but then other things just fell in place. Barney's picnic. Barney's picnic, it is an institution, and it's not of my making. Stan Garvey, particularly in those early days, he'd call in, and I'm not talking about 1960s, it's more 1980s onwards, I suppose, or 70s anyway, and about January or so, and I'm at this picnic. And so what we're doing, and I suppose the picnic really kicked off in the way it is when we were able to say Mass of a Sunday outdoors of a church, whether it was Vatican II or something, Bishop James, does that mean anything?
Before me.
Anyways,
What he's trying to say was that they weren't breaking
we had to.
He washes his hands.
But Stan Garvey just said, we've got to get permission to do it, so we've got to write to His Eminence Bishop Barney Stewart. And he might say yes, and oh, look, he's a bit old hat, he's probably say no. But I think for the idea to come across, we'd better ask him to say the first Mass. Hoping and knowing like mad that he would say no. But anyway, to much to our surprise, he said yes, and we were able to do it. Our parish priest, Father Jack Gehrig, who was in Wangaratta prior to that, he then was delegated with the responsibility of just assuring that we said Mass in a good and proper way. And so he came out one day at the time we wanted to say Mass around about that 11 o'clock. And just when you think it was just Mass and start of a barbecue, etc., but no, Father Gehrig was so particular that the sun was right and wasn't in so-and-so's eyes or shining on things, that there could have been ridicule from photographs made, etc., etc. And the back, there's 2 trees there, and that's where and he made us put a backdrop between the 2 trees. Oh, but we don't have to do that, but yeah, well, that's one of his conditions. And so Head Francis from Francis Transport got one of those great big heavy old tarps they used to have in those days. We strung that across from tree to tree for a few years till, that got a bit heavy and we got sick of it and didn't bother. And Father Gehrig had moved on then anyway. But the problem with asking the bishop each year is not a problem, but they liked the idea and they kept on coming. But I do remember right back the first year the Bishop Stewart said Mass, he came out Saturday to check over things, and Father Gehrig thought he'd better keep him active and doing things, so we'd go mushrooming and slating. But shower plenty of mushrooms about late April. Bishop Stewart wasn't interested one iota of it. Blessed mushrooms. He was only interested in the radio and how Essendon was going in the football. Here's Father Gehrig out there with a basket grabbing these blessed mushrooms. But since that, every bishop since that has sort of expressed it as just a rite of passage, they'll say Mass at the picnic. It says a lot for us order and the work we do, but when I think back to you're giving me this on behalf of the family, and to think about it's just not a one-man show, my show from when I was a member onwards, but my whole family did it, and years later when the kids grew up, including my daughter Charlene and son-in-law Dave, who quite graciously have brought me here tonight, and I thank them for that. They'll remember as little kids too about wanting this and wanting that. And things are often forgotten, that sort of thing, and doubled up or broke or something. At one particular effort, one day, someone raised up and said, "What do you want now?" And they said, "Oh, did you get us 3 or 4 ice cream containers, plastic ice cream containers? What on earth do you want them for?" "No," we said, "we've got nothing for the plate." So the plate for a few years is always the ice cream containers, which I think years later, I think Rutherglen probably still do today. Supplied the plate, rather ice cream containers, but the cutlery is going to be emptied. But anyway, they're just the little things, but then it was a family effort, I must say. My father was a bit pedantic in those early days, and he dried brownie here and as dry as a bone. He got some irrigation pipes and connected up to the pump there, which was 100 metres away, and he put the water on a couple of times to make a nice green peak, but the people coming to the picnic couldn't give a damn. But I often wondered why it was so special, and since I've been moved into Wodonga in recent years and thinking about things, and the world has moved on a lot, and I'm thinking about the things I'm missing, just that water rippling past in the open air, etc., and I can understand it. And to a degree more and more as I've got older and older. Now, there's been some characters over the years that sorry, I've had the 4 bishops and they weren't characters. They always say you can thank them, but there's been some other characters that have attended and you really want to know why. Why did they want to come to Barney's picnic? What was it about this picnic? It's not my picnic, it was nothing I developed, and it was developed, I think, initially Woolsheds and somewhere else in the early, middle 60s it came to our place. And a few times it's been too wet and it moved elsewhere. The picnic is just that unifying thing between man and the church. I don't know what it was. There's been some characters, and over the years they've come from the buses from Melbourne was another innovation in recent years, which was great. But then they got on a bus and got out of bed a bit earlier and they enjoyed themselves. And so they made a sacrifice, of course, to get out of bed in Melbourne. I'd leave Melbourne too if I get out of bed. But then you looked at some of the other people that come over the years, and there's a few notable ones that some of your other people might put their first names to because I'm forgetting a lot these days. But there's one, and it was always known as the picnic was always known as the district chairman's picnic. One of our chairmen once was Jackie, someone from Corrie on, and that's a fair way, but he'd come and he enjoyed himself like mad. And that's fine. But then we had the other one I remember I was thinking of early today, and his name come to me, Cookie. This young bloke Cook come from Benambra or over near Omeo, and he come from there of a morning, come down to the picnic, and that's back in the 70s, and we only saw him for a few years then, but what brought him there? Just the fraternity and what we're all about. And it's something we've got to keep going, and that's it. But the other thing was another character too that most of you here should have remembered too, was a chap from over in the Western District. I don't know whether it was Horsham or Warwickville or somewhere, but Kaz, I think was his name. From Beulah. And he was a migrant from Europe anyway, with a strong accent, and he was a character. It would have been back in, it's a fair while back now because it was after decimal currency, I remember. And he came and it was a big trip, and eventually got friends with a couple of brothers, and he stayed a day or two before he went back to Beulah. But when you think of what's happened nowadays here in the state of Victoria, where things have got out of hand with the money and bank appreciation or whatever it is, and we can't hold the games and things like that, our government, our good government. Kaz got up there one day and he explained in his broken English about this decimal currency, what it was like. He said, I don't know, he says, I'm going to town to buy something, he says, and things are twice as dear as they used to be. And he said, when I turned to go home again, he says, look, I find out I live twice as far from Beulah as I used to. That memory came back to me today. And I couldn't remember Kaz. And then where does Wangaratta branch stand? And that, they were always a terrific supporters. Rather than mainly did the cooking, and we did the Wodonga branch that I'm a member of, did a bit of grog. And first of all, one of the early times we had to move the bar. It was just behind where the altar was to be. No way could you hold mass with like setting up a bar behind the tree. So that had to be shifted. That had to be shifted. And so that's fine, we've got to overcome all that. But so little things like that. But Wangaratta is always a terrific supporter for anything. They always like. They like to eat and they like to drink as well, and they like the fraternity. And I do thank Wangaratta. Well, congratulate them also for the 100 years membership. And congratulate them for all the membership, etc. that contributes to our picnic. And I do get back to the nitty-gritty of what you're on about tonight. I must appreciate what my family did. It was not only me that I'm getting at, and had 5 kids and a wife and a mother and father, and the little bits that they contributed every year towards the picnic, and the encouragement they gave me and the contributions they made to me, ease my time in life around those days of it. So it's just great gratitude. I accept everything you have.
Take a leaf out of your book there, and I'll invite Raylene and Dave to come up, please.
Yeah.
Charlotte. Just wanted you to be part of this. Thanks, Charlene.
Oh, thank you.
Just I think there's a photographer somewhere. We've got it over here behind the light,
Oh,
hiding. In case you feel out of it, there's a copy for the family.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, and just another round of applause for Bernie and his family. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Paul, and congratulations to the Gehrig family on the work they've done over the years. That basically finishes up everything bar one little commercial that someone wants to speak on about. I think it's Andrew, is it, or Paul? You've been nominated again, have you?
Sounds like it.
Delegate your authority.
You can't avoid the commercials. I just wanted to remind everybody that on the 1st of September at Moonee Valley Racecourse, the Archbishop's dinner will be held again, and we're trying to break that $1.5 million barrier this year. So if you can't come, at least send us some money. I know that a lot of the country branches do support us enormously with sponsorship and sending their parish priests and other people to the Archbishop's dinner. And this year we just want to make sure that we fill that venue with over 400 people. Last year we just made it. We actually had to knock people back and say, sorry, but the venue's full and we'll put you on the waiting list. And some of them were lucky. There were some apologies at the late notice and they got there. So this year, remember that on the 1st of September, I'm told by the football aficionados that it's a bye that weekend. So anyone who's able to come down to Melbourne for the weekend, by all means, we'll make you welcome. So other couple of things for State Council. In October, we have the annual conference of the State Conference, at which any interested motions by branches that want to change things are considered. And we also have an election for State Council. Now we've struggled in the last few years during COVID to fill State Council with the maximum number of councillors that we're enabled to fill. So this year we're making every effort to encourage all branches to nominate a state councillor for the position, so that we can actually have an election and perhaps invigorate State Council with some new members. Brother Barney joined us last year, and I'm quite sure he's enjoyed every minute of it. And there's one recommendation. There's no barring for country members, because we've embraced that horrible word called Zoom meetings. And if you know anybody in the branch that's got a computer or a mobile phone, you can join our meetings by Zoom. And back in Box Hill, where our head office is, we've got a huge screen, and anybody who's sick and can't come to the meeting, or anybody like Bernie who's a bit far away to drive back home after the meeting, join by Zoom. So nobody's excluded these days. Even my deputy state chairman, John Miller in Colin, he lost his wayside stopping bed that he used to frequent last year, but so he joins by Zoom. So that's. But you've got to remember that if a branch wants to make any motions or has any ideas for improving the way we operate, you've only got until the middle of August to let the State Council know. So those two things, or three things, are important. Pre-Support and Education Fund dinner, 1st of September. The closing date for motions to our annual state conference, 14th of August. We're not fixed on that, but you do need to give State Council some chance of reading what you want and saying yes or no. And then the nominations for positions on State Council. It's vital that we get members to participate and step up for that sort of job. So I've enjoyed myself tonight. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, brothers and friends, and I wish you well for the future.
Yes, thank you, Paul, for that. And I can just endorse that anyone who think about State Council, please have yourself nominated and apply. It's quite easy with Zoom these days, and it's an experience that's something different to what's in the ordinary branch life. So, well, that now comes to the conclusion of our formal part of the evening, and I just would like to ask everyone to feel free to mix around and have a good time with those that are with you. It's a chance to catch up with many who we haven't been able to catch up with over the last few years. So once again, thank you all very, very much for attending this dinner for the 100 years of Wangaratta KSC anniversary. And I'm very honoured to be the chairman for the time it's become 100 years, and I thank you all. Thank you all very much.